that will answer questions as she can and highlight them for me as we go forward. We will also be recording this session just so that you are aware of that, so that we can share it with educators who weren't able to attend today. I'll start with a quick introduction. I'll then introduce Jeff Larson, a fantastic educator from San Francisco, who'll tell us a little bit of his story. And then we'll go through a general presentation about ConnectED and the offerings from Adobe with plenty of time for questions at the end. So welcome, everyone. To start with, I'd love to give you a chance to hear from Jeff Larson. He is an amazing educator. He's been teaching at Balboa High School for more than 15 years. In that time, he's contributed to helping turn his school around from one of the worst schools in the district to one of the really sought-after schools in San Francisco Unified. He believes strongly that arts are essential to young people's learning and development, and that arts have a strong role to play in teaching technology and enhancing digital literacy. In addition to teaching, Jeff has been an Adobe education leader and with the Adobe Youth Voices program for the last 4 years, and serves as a leader in the district career and technical education program. So Jeff, I'm going to pass it over to you.
All right, thank you. Can everybody hear me? All right. Well, thank you for the nice introduction. It's great to be joining you today. I'm entering my 18th year as a teacher here at Balboa High School, and my background is in fine arts, and started doing digital media in the early 2000s, kind of on my own, just trying to learn Photoshop on my own and figure out ways to work with a lab that had been here at school that wasn't being used very often. But that was kind of the beginning of my journey. And along the way, I did get a chance to get some help and assistance from previous Adobe initiatives. One was called the Train the Teacher program, which kind of introduced educators to some of the basic tools, including Photoshop and Illustrator and working with video and Premiere. And those were a great introduction and foundation for me to build on. So I initially started doing work with my arts classes, and then I joined one of our career technical education programs here at our school called CAST, Creative Arts for Social Transformation, and implemented an animation program. And again, not really knowing a whole lot in the early years, but using that foundation and introduction that I had received as a way to build on and create a component of our program. I have a colleague who teaches video production, and I focus on animation and graphics and graphic design. Some of the things I wanted to start off talking about is why it would be essential to develop and use digital media skills. Given that today, students and professionals, educators as well, digital media skills are really essential in the education setting as well as the professional workforce. These are the ways in which we are communicating with each other. We're sharing our ideas, conveying information, convincing other people of our ideas. And so starting to use those skills at an earliest possible juncture would be a benefit for everybody. Working with digital media has increased student engagement for myself and my students, definitely. In the early years, seeing students gravitate towards graphic design work. They're very well versed in the language of graphic design, even if it is only on an informal level. They're very drawn to it. And so having an opportunity to work with those tools, they get really into projects. And you can start with, really easy projects like public service announcement posters around issues or creating flyers for clubs and organizations on your campus. So those students and yourself start to become a resource and kind of like a little hub at your school to use as tools of communication. Working along over the years, we've increased the number of projects. So again, early days, I would just do a few poster projects, maybe a CD design cover. It very quickly turned it into, campaigns around issues and, looking at topics of interest that students were wanting to explore and try to raise awareness with our media. So it might be through a film or an animation and alongside of a poster. One of the great assets for me over the years had been working with Adobe Youth Voices, and that curriculum and tools are also available online and give you a good sense of how to start in the creative process. It's not so much about working with the tools and the software specifically, but a lot of it's about what to do with it in the classroom, how to research, organize, have students present to each other, give critical feedback in their process, and move through different stages of the production process. And that's been a great benefit for us because, now lo and behold, the Common Core for most of us is asking us to create things with our students, not only just have them, read and digest information, but have them, stand up and articulate their ideas and share that information and their viewpoints with one another. And so modeling, that process in our classroom, we have, our students as teams or individuals get up and present and talk about who they're trying to communicate to, how they're trying to communicate with them, what kinds of, graphic choices or film or animation choices they're making to help them communicate their ideas, and then receive feedback from each other to further develop their final projects. I really believe that digital media complements the research and presentation process. The last couple of years, my favorite new assignment has been the creation of infographics. So they research a topic, they find statistics, information, they dig deep. So they do their own research components, but then they have to design and represent those statistics and information in a kind of cohesive manner. And it's a very popular form of graphics that we see a lot on websites and in presentations. So it's a nice skill set for them to practice developing. First, I also really, the learning process for myself has always been alongside of students, even to this day, 15 years later of kind of doing digital media, starting from, a very fledgling point to a now more advanced point. Every day I'm still figuring out something new alongside of the students. So it's a great chance to kind of model that, lifelong learning process that we want our students to kind of, walk away with when they move on from us. I think, for thinking about the value of why digital media for you and your students is important is that for your school site, you have a chance with the ConnectED initiative to begin to pilot something maybe you haven't done before, or support some existing initiatives and efforts that you might already have. So if you don't have a media lab or a facility to kind of do this work, it gives you a chance to lay a foundation. If you do, it gives you some more resources to work with, and but also is a chance to connect with a broader community of educators who are like-minded in trying to, work with the tools and, our resources for you. And you can connect with them through places like the Adobe Education Exchange or the Adobe Youth Voice community. And people, will answer your questions, and they have, posted other lessons that they've found successful. On the Ed Exchange particularly, you can find things related to almost any subject area. And you'll find lots of times step-by-step, tutorials on how to execute those projects or carry out those lessons. And again, like over the years, I've found that we've incorporated the kind of tools and work that we use in things like business plans. So students are designing their materials and promotional assets and presentations, and they go to different classes, or they have to run the project throughout the school site. People do demonstration videos in science classes, filming exercises and step-by-step procedures. Also develops your capacity for you and your students to, record and document your school events. So if you, get familiar with video editing, your students can start to be kind of like a little news hub and capture events, and you can post them on your school website, or you can throw little film festivals and art exhibitions with posters and presentation materials they've created. I saw earlier when someone was logging in, they were interested in portfolio development, and there are a lot of different ways you could go about that, but definitely working with digital media will provide your students with some really, high quality portfolio pieces that demonstrate a sense of understanding of the skills and tools. So, Tacey, do you have any things you want me to kind of touch on? I could kind of touched on how, it's a great starter kit for you and your school. Some of the resources. For myself, in our program at our school, again, going from one of the most struggling schools in the district when I first arrived in the mid to late 90s, and a school that had very little resources. And it's still what would be considered a Title I school, serving the working class community here in San Francisco. And, it was having access to these tools and resources in the form that they were at that time gave us a leg up on providing students who normally had never had this kind of opportunity and experience, and again, helping us to grow our program to the point that it is.
Thank you, Jeff. That's really helpful to hear a little bit of your story and the importance of digital media, both for your students, for yourself, and for your school. Really appreciate your time with us today, and hope for the educators on the call that it's helpful to hear from someone like yourselves who has been on a journey with digital media and started out learning and growing and has really developed a pretty amazing program for his students and for his school. As I said earlier, I'm Tacey Trowbridge. I head up Adobe's Education Programs team. I'm a former classroom teacher myself, taught mostly middle school, and technology coordinator, and so it gives me tremendous pleasure to be part of this ConnectED initiative with Adobe. For Adobe, it represents an exciting opportunity to deepen our longstanding commitment to education. We design and develop amazing tools for creating digital content, and we see ConnectED as an opportunity to help bridge not just a digital divide, but a creativity divide. Students who don't have opportunities to create end up being passive consumers in a world that's increasingly digital. And we want to ensure that all students have an opportunity to be creators. I'm going to shift back into my presentation and share with you some of the details of ConnectED. So first of all, what is this? It's really a unique program. This is the largest public-private partnership of its kind, with the White House, the Department of Education, a number of companies, and several nonprofits that are all working together on some common goals. President Obama set a goal that in 5 years, we will have made tremendous progress on upgrading connectivity to schools, ensuring that students and teachers have access to devices, supporting teachers through professional development, through opportunities to learn, and that digital learning resources include not just a transformation of traditional learning into a digital environment, but really take advantage of some of the new capabilities and possibilities. And so Adobe comes in on the last two, that we have a tremendous amount of work, we've done a tremendous amount of work to support teachers and have developed learning resources to help educators be successful. And then our tools are uniquely designed to help educators and students be successful in a changing world. In terms of the other companies who are participating, there's a great assortment of folks. I think one of the things that's been exciting is that ConnectED is an opportunity for all of us to move forward in ways that make sense for the kinds of things that we offer, to work towards some common goals, to work together. We don't often, as companies, look for opportunities to collaborate, and I think one of the things that's been both personally and professionally exciting and fantastic for Adobe is to find ways in which we can work with these other companies to support the larger goals. We've been also looking at the kinds of ways in which we can come together through some of the nonprofits that are working with particular districts. So stay tuned for this. I think there's some really exciting opportunities here. You can find out more information about the other companies and their contributions on the ConnectED website. Each company has a slightly different approach. I'll be talking today about Adobe's, but I'd certainly encourage you to check out some of the other things that companies are doing here. So for Adobe, and why are we involved in this? We see that creativity can't be an elective anymore. It has to be the future for our students. That if we're going to prepare them to be successful, they need to be creative thinkers, to be able to create, to engage an audience, to share their ideas. Work is changing really quickly, that students are going to end up in jobs that have not been invented yet, and so we need to prepare them in new ways to be successful. Adobe's done some research into the state of creativity, both internally in terms of the industry, and then also with students and educators and parents. And we see as resounding that 90% agree that creativity is important for economic growth, but it's also important in individual career growth as well. We also see a clear call that creativity is not being fostered in today's educational system and needs to be. 86% of students and parents and educators believe that it's critical for our future success. Adobe's approach to education is threefold. We want to make sure that we spark and amplify best practices. We want to encourage educators to see how creativity can be used in the classroom to give students ideas of the kinds of things they can do. Then we want to connect educators, connect students, connect industry. We see ourselves as conveners who can bring together a really interesting group of folks to focus on important issues in education. And then we want to launch the next generation of digital creators to make sure that everyone has a voice and can be heard in a world that's increasingly digital and increasingly visual. So what is Adobe's donation? We've committed to donating more than $300 million in software and professional development to Title I eligible schools. And those tools include a variety of different resources. The first set are creative tools. These are amazing tools to be used to edit videos, to create images, to create some of the posters that Jeff was talking about. And we're essentially donating a lab set of software to Title I schools. We're also donating e-learning tools, and these are really exciting. Presenters, an easy-to-use tool that allows students and educators to create online learning. And whether that's as simple as taking a PowerPoint and adding some interactivity to it through quizzing, through visuals, through video, that's a great way to use Presenter. So if you are flipping your classroom, if you're creating a MOOC, if you are trying to engage students more individually where you want to create personalized learning, Presenter is a fantastic tool for both educators and students to use. Captivate's a more sophisticated tool. The primary use of Captivate has been with educators, but again, a great way to create learning resources for distance learning, for your classroom, for a variety of different tools. And then the final set of the donation is an electronic signature tool. This is a fantastic tool that I have really appreciated using, great way to reduce the use of paper, to ensure that documents get to the right person, the right time, and to simplify processes. If you apply and are given a grant for the ConnectED software, you'll go through the process yourself and see how easy it is to use this electronic signing tool. And then I think as educators know, donating software alone is not enough. That's really not going to make a difference in schools. And so we've worked hard to ensure that we're also providing the right kind of support and environment that will help schools and educators be successful. So that's teacher training, that's also curriculum resources, learning resources, and it's helping educators be connected to like-minded educators who are trying to also teach digital media within their classrooms. So as I mentioned, Adobe is donating software, certainly the professional development and curriculum. We have a really fantastic community of educators, some of whom are on the call today. Both Mark and Jeff are fantastic members of our Adobe Education Leader community. These are some of the top educators around the world. There are almost 300 of them who are not only doing amazing things in their classrooms, but are leaders, they are speakers, they write books. They are really active on the Adobe Education Exchange and serve as the backbone and core of that. Then we also have an opportunity at Adobe to share some of the models for success. As we work with districts, with schools, with individual educators, we see models of what works. It's never just one thing, but we would love to be able to shine a spotlight on schools that are doing incredible work that may be helpful to other schools as they're contemplating incorporating digital media more tightly into their curriculum. Then in terms of the kind of value to schools, we certainly see at schools that are using our tools an increase in digital school skills. These are skills that matter to employers. So as students go out into the workforce to be able to communicate effectively, that communication no longer means, and I was an English teacher, no longer means writing a good 5-paragraph essay. It means you've got to be able to tell a story in a way that's compelling. And for students these days, their pop culture is all online, it's all digital. So helping them be effective at communicating digitally and visually is critical. Then we also want to focus on developing creative confidence, that giving students the opportunity to get their feet wet, to try different things, to explore how they can share their ideas, share their vision, and to develop and encourage them to develop their own skills and then feel confident as they go into the workforce or they go on to further education. Certainly career readiness, and then increased efficiencies, and that's really the EchoSign component of the donation. For those of you who aren't familiar with the Adobe Education Exchange, you should check it out. It's an amazing community of educators. We've got more than 146,000 educators who are participating. When we started the Exchange a little over 3 years ago, it really was a place where we were just publishing. We were sharing resources. What we found is that folks were much more interested in learning from each other than they were in just hearing from us. So while we continue to publish to the Education Exchange, and we publish curriculum, lesson plan ideas, resources for educators, all of which are licensed under Creative Commons and free to use. We encourage other educators to post and share what they're doing. Many of our AELs contribute to this community and share their resources, so the quality of resources that are posted is really high, and it's just a great place to find some additional inspiration, additional ideas. Melissa Jones, who's on our call today and facilitating some of the conversation, has done incredible work in really building a professional development program on the site. We'll talk more about that in a little bit. Then the free resources, there are more than 6,000 resources on the site right now. It's searchable so that you can find the things that are of particular interest to you. And some really active discussions where educators are sharing what works, asking questions. I think one of the great examples of the use of the Exchange is a teacher in San Diego, Mike Scotchko, who has posted, he's gamified his classroom, and he's posted how he's done that. He's posted questions, gotten tremendous feedback from the broader community, and you can see his classroom practice change over time. As somebody who's watched masterful teachers in the classroom, it's sometimes hard to see what goes into that, and how do you actually become such a skilled educator. And I think the Exchange is a great way to make teaching practices visible and to give people a window into not just what you're doing, but to get an opportunity to see what educators in K-12 and in higher education are doing to help their students gain skills and knowledge. For our professional development pieces, again, these are all free. They're all available to any teacher. But we've also designed some things particular for folks participating in ConnectED. So for all of the tools that we're donating, Melissa has designed some webinars, workshops that are available right now. So if you are contemplating participating in the ConnectED program, rest assured that that professional development that will help educators get started who may not have experience in teaching digital media, that all exists. It's ready today and ready to go, free for you to use. We run workshops. We also run courses and events that focus more, that are more like MOOCs or webinars. We run a Train the Trainer program to help educators who are working with other teachers, trying to help them learn to use tools and resources. And that course, there will be one that is specific for ConnectED that will launch in January. And then also we host and sponsor learning communities where educators can learn from each other. I want to mention Adobe Youth Voices. This is a fantastic program run through the Adobe Foundation. For years they've been supporting Title I schools, after-school programs, in helping youth develop creative confidence and really learn some of the core skills in media making. We are thrilled that as part of ConnectED, anyone who's participating in ConnectED is invited to participate in the professional development from Adobe Youth Voices, and also that the students will be able to participate in the contests that are run through Adobe Youth Voices. There's a major contest for students who are creating digital media and can see what other students from all around the world are doing, really focused on social change and helping youth find their voice and be able to make change in their communities. And then there's also another opportunity for students to gain scholarships for anyone who's going on to study digital media as well. So who's eligible to participate in this program? The selection criteria, we've partnered closely with the White House, the Department of Education, the other companies that are participating to ensure that we are trying to reach schools that are serving students that may not have access to some of the really powerful digital tools. So we've made our program available for all public schools that qualify for Title I, that have 40% or more of their student population eligible for free and reduced lunch. We ask that schools check to make sure they've got the basic infrastructure. Do you have connectivity? And our software doesn't require connectivity over time. It's mostly to download and install it. So we don't need strong connectivity, but you do need to be able to connect to the internet to download the software. Then we want to ensure that the hardware is in place, that you have the kinds of machines, whether it's Macs or PCs, that can run our software. And we want to also ensure that your principal, the school leader, can offer support for this as well, so ask for a letter of support. None of these are designed to be difficult hurdles to meet. They're designed to help you be successful. So to ensure that you've got what you need to get started right away and that you've got support from your school leadership. Then the White House and the Department of Education have also asked that we ensure that we see a geographic diversity, that our donation is spread across the United States in rural schools, in urban schools, in suburban schools. And since we launched this in June, we've certainly seen that play out. I think one of the interesting things we've seen is we expected to see mostly high schools, but we've seen a really large number of middle schools and elementary schools interested in participating as well. That's fantastic. There are lots of great ways to use these tools across all of the different grade levels, and so I'm thrilled to see so many schools and educators interested in digital media at a wide variety of age levels. So please join us. We would love to have great schools participating as part of ConnectED. We're happy to have you apply for the grant. We are able to turn things around pretty quickly, so if you submit your application, you're likely to hear back from us within a week, and certainly no more than a couple weeks. If you apply, the application's online, pretty straightforward. Once you've got the software granted, then it's up to you. And what we try to do is provide the support in the ecosystem that will help you be successful through professional development, through curriculum, by sharing best practices. And then we also want to see a really active online community, and so invite you to participate with other ConnectED schools, to hear some of the exciting things they're doing, to see what's making them successful, and to help other folks along in the process. So finally, we invite you to support creativity in education. I think we see a real need to ensure that students graduate from schools where they are innovators, they're creative, they are thoughtful. And those are things that Adobe's tools help, but that's not the complete solution. We as a company believe that creativity is important and want to support that in any ways that we can. So you'll see we've launched a creativity pledge where we asked educators to share their support for creativity in education. Everyone from Bill Nye the Science Guy to Dale Doherty of the Maker Movement to the Department of Education have signed on to support creativity in education. There are many ways to do that, whether that's within your classroom or as an administrator supporting the kind of environment that fosters creativity, or as a leader ensuring that your voice is heard around creativity in education. So finally, I want to thank you for your interest, for participating in our webinar today. I've included the web address for you to apply for a donation if you're interested. Feel free to contact me directly if you have personal questions, but also happy to answer any questions that may come up in the chat or that you have today. Looks like we've got a question from Margaret asking if schools or districts can apply for all Title I schools. Her district has 104 Title I schools. This program is really set up as a program for schools, and so we invite all 104 of your Title I schools to apply. We do need the school to apply, but if there are ways in which we can help make that easy for you, feel free to reach out to me. I'd be happy to follow up with you and figure out how we can make that something that will work well for your particular district. I'll give you a minute to type in your questions. I can see some folks are typing. Well, one thing I'll do is tell you a little bit about some of what we're seeing from the schools that have already applied. As I mentioned, certainly cover a wide range of different grade levels, also tremendous range of where these schools come from. We've seen schools from more than 30 states apply, which is fantastic. So we've got 20 more that we're working on. We've also seen some schools that have existing digital media programs like Jeff's, who are looking to make digital media tools available more broadly. So they want to install licenses in the library or to involve other teachers. And so they're looking to expand the way in which digital media is used in their classrooms. The Photoshop Elements and Premiere Elements products are fantastic for this. They are our consumer products, so they have a little bit of an easier learning curve to get started, but are incredibly powerful and share many of the same sorts of technologies in the backbone as our professional level tools. Then we've also seen schools that are new, where they have just gotten a new lab, or they've just gotten a new set of tablets. They don't have a lot of software and haven't been teaching digital media, and so are looking for support in terms of providing software, but they're really interested in how can they learn more about using these tools in the classroom. And we see quite a range there. And I think that some schools are focused more on faculty and helping faculty use these tools to improve teaching and learning in the classroom. Others are more focused on students and helping students gain the kinds of skills and knowledge that they'll need in order to be successful. So we're of course thrilled to see this range of schools involved. And I think one of the other things to share is that when we've talked with the White House and the Department of Education about what success looks like for them, they really want to be able to shine a light on schools that are doing amazing work. And so part of what this does is create an opportunity for schools to share what they're doing, not just with each other in terms of ConnectED, but with the nation. And I think that the kinds of things that you'll see from the White House over the next year are really highlighting some of the amazing things happening in schools. And I hope we'll be able to talk about some of your schools and the work you're doing as well. Other questions or comments? Well, I hope to see applications if this is something that makes sense for your school or for your district. Please share the news around this. We want as many schools to know about it so that they can participate as possible. I think we are lucky enough to see firsthand the kind of impact that this can have on schools and all kinds of schools, from preparing students for career to something as simple. I was looking at one school in New Orleans that was trying to get more parents to come to back to school night or to come to teacher conferences. And what they found was most successful was creating a gallery of student work. And by posting the work, it got not just students more involved, but the parents showed up. And so they were able to really increase the number of parents who are participating and engaged within the school. So I think you can look at this from a huge range of different kinds of potential benefits for your school. And I hope that you'll see some that are helpful for you. And thanks, Jeff, for offering support. I think that's one of the really wonderful things about our Adobe Education Leader community is they are eager to offer help and support, whether it's through models of what they're doing, through sharing their best practices, or answering questions as they come up as folks go forward. Okay, well, I think with that, I'll stay on and be happy to answer questions as they come in. I'd love to get your feedback about this session. If there are things that worked or didn't work or that you'd hope to hear more of, now's a great time to let us know, and we've got a few more minutes so could address those. But we'd love to just hear from you about what worked and what didn't work in this session, and if there's anything else that you want to share with us, that'd be great. So I can see Mark has a question about listing participating schools by region at some point. There are a couple of things for us to think about there. We will certainly have a ConnectED discussion group on the Education Exchange, so a great way to find the schools that are participating. And then we're looking to both protect the privacy of schools who are participating and ensure that they've got the right kind of support. So Mark, we're walking a line in terms of trying to really balance making sure that we offer as much as we can to schools, but without publicizing who they are unless they want that. We certainly see that as valuable. I think the sharing that we've seen from schools contribute tremendously to their success. But we do want to be respectful of schools that don't want to share that information. So Mark, we'll follow up with you later and are working on pulling that together. I think for our Adobe education leaders, many of them want to support schools in their area and make sure that they have the kinds of resources to be successful and are willing to visit and as well. So I think I'm speaking for you, Mark, but it's something we certainly hear from lots of our education leaders, that their interest is in really helping local schools be successful. And I think the other thing that's kind of interesting, many of our education leaders are in higher education, and they want to ensure that students are prepared for higher education and likely to be successful there. So some of the early partnerships that we're starting to see formed are between community colleges or four-year institutions that are looking to work with their local high schools around digital media. All right, well, thanks everyone. I think that can conclude our session today. Again, happy to hear from you. If there are specific questions that you want to reach out to me for, I'll include my email address in the chat pod so that you can see that, and look forward to seeing some of your applications come through for ConnectED and learning more about your schools and the work that you're doing. Thank you.